Can I do something? You want to screen share real quick?
Yeah.
Let's screen share real quick.
Somebody said no, and they owe me money for my student loans also.
That's funny.
Yo, real talk. Like 9 times out of 10, you got to loan your parents money. No, that's a fact.
That's a big fact.
That's a fact. 16 years old, you working at a camping, you got to loan your mom $100. No, that's reality.
That's big fact. Thumbs up if you can see our screen right now. So we
doing screen shares?
Oh, yeah, you know what? We had this conversation, myself, Shadi. We had this conversation earlier, and I'm gonna just let y'all in on a phone call. We want to do that? Let's let them in on our phone calls. And so we got ETF DB. That's the website that we're on. And so obviously we know XLY, right? Let's look it up. XLY. And when we come here, it's going to tell us obviously consumer discretionary is in the SPDR fund. And the first thing that I like to look at, number one, is the value. How much is being traded? So you look at the monthly average and you look at the 3-month average, right? And so that's here. Everybody can see that, right? The next thing I want to look at is inside the holdings. And so that tells me what's inside the ETF. And so we're saying that, look, if Tesla comes in here, then some things got to be moved around. So it's heavy, right? Amazon, the asset percentage is pretty high. Home Depot, we know these companies. These are strong companies. This is why we're investing in XLY, right? The next thing that we're going to look at is the performance. What has this ETF done compared to its peers? And so you can see right here, like when Shadi's saying, like, yo, this is the performance that is done for the past 5 years. We can see it's 109% return. We can see 3 years, it's 67% return. But let's go to a detailed analysis, and it breaks it down even more for you. And so now you can see it with its peers. And so if you are a loyal listener to Market Mondays, shout out to our boy, my man, I almost forgot his name. Damn, I forgot. So if you're a loyal listener, you've seen this before. iBuy, right? We can see the percentage return. So you look at 5-year.
Quinn?
Yeah, Quentin. I almost forgot Quentin's name. I'm about to call him by his Instagram name. Nah. So he shouted out iBuy. Shadi said iBuy. Look at its return for 3 years. We got 176%. 1 year, we got 116%. We're not just pulling these things out of the air. But let's look what XLY has done, right? Let's go over the past year. So it's 25% here. We can see that, right? It's 12 out of 20, almost middle of the pack. We got for the past 26 weeks is 18. So it's almost at the tail end of the pack. But we said, it's pulling back a little bit, right? So if we look at this, we're like, all right, cool. We see what XLY has done, but let's look at some other consumer discretionaries because Tesla might end up in some other ones. And so let's look at one like FXD. Let's type this in. So it's another consumer discretionary ETF. Again, I'm looking at the value, right? I'm going to look at the holdings. Keep that. And so we know some of these holdings, Tesla's already in there, but what you'll notice the biggest difference is the asset percentage. And so when we look at the asset percentage, we don't see 20%, we don't see 10%. And so what that means, like, this is probably a much safer ETF, but the growth rate will probably be a lot lower, right? So I know when Shadi asks me a question about an ETF, he's always looking for the safest play. That's just his thing. And so I always make sure that I'm looking for the safest thing. And so like if somebody's looking at like, hey, where can I gain 10%? I'm comfortable with that. You might start looking at these type of ETFs that are consumer discretionary and also have Tesla inside. And so let's look at their performance. Let's go to the view detailed. And so now look, for the past 13 weeks, right? We saw that XLY was middle of the road. So was FXD, right? We saw that it was at 16. Well, look at FXD. It's at 29%. You see what I'm saying? There goes iBuy again. That's a gem. That's a gem. And right, so we can see that the return, right, even at 1 year, it's up 10%, this ETF. But that's what the ETF has done. Now, if you have an option call on it, if the actual rate of return is 10%, then you know the option call could be higher. So these are like some of the safer ones. Let's look at another one. I got one more. Let's see. RCD, another consumer discretionary. All right, so now we got RCD. Again, I'm looking at the volume. The volume is a little bit less, right? And so that tells me that not too many people are trading inside of here. I'm looking inside the holdings. And so look at the title here. It's telling you this is an equal weight consumer discretionaries. So that means that they're not going to have any asset allocation that's over a certain percentage. And what's interesting about this one, and compared to others, is that they change theirs quarterly. So every quarter, they make sure that they rotate their allocation, right? So that way, it's never top heavy, right? It's more of a balanced approach. So after we do that, and this is literally how our phone calls go, we'll go to our Yahoo chart. Go to Yahoo Finance, and obviously I got my Bollinger Bands up. I got my 200-day moving average. I got my 100-day. I got my 50-day. I got my RSI here. We got the whole works, right? And so if I look at the chart, let's go 5-year. Let's go max.
Yep, go max first.
That's his thing. He's like, yo, let me see how it's moved. And so when I look at a chart, and Ian, I'm taking this from you. Like, this is the type of chart I want to look at, right? I see consistent growth since inception. Obviously, we have this moment here, and you're going to see this on pretty much every chart. This is probably, and if we can get the line on it, sometimes y'all will be acting crazy. This is probably around March 15th, March 16th, where we get hit with the news of the coronavirus spreading, and there's all lockdowns. But even since then, there's been consistent growth, right? And so these are safer plays in the ETF game, even though we love XLY. Like I'm just saying what we've done. We've invested in it. But if somebody wants to take a safer play and when they're doing ETF investing or they're doing an option, these are like two that you could look at.
There you have it.
I appreciate that, man. I told you Troy was a beast, and I'm glad you shared. So let's do that every week, man. We need to have the technical part more often. You know, that's my zone. So
yo, man, if I could do a chart mastery like you, man, I'm probably going to get an award for it. So
yeah,
shout out to you.
And Tesla, they're saying it might be the biggest trading day in history on Friday when it joins the S&P 500. All of the index funds and the fund managers, hedge funds, ETFs, they all, CNBC they put an article saying that it might be the biggest trading day in history on Friday. So it'll be interesting.
I'll be waiting.
That's interesting for sure.
Once again, I cannot prove it, but I feel like Cathay has such an amazing performance that the industry started to team up against her. Please keep your eyes on what she does next. Because trust me, like, she's a little bit bothered at some of the games that they're playing. And then also women don't get enough credit for being great investors. So I feel like as soon as a woman became front and center, a couple of things were done to knock the performance, and everyone started to try and match her game. So like keep 2021, keep your eyes on her and what she does to adjust.
Yeah. I'm telling you, so like that was what we were watching today. It's like this is a week. Obviously, we know quadruple witching is happening this week. And so we're waiting for these changes to extend for a few of our positions. So that's another thing just to keep in mind, that the 18th is here and we know contracts are expiring. People will be selling off and taking profits. So if we see a slight pullback, you know why.
The name of the website was ETFDB.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.